Hi, and it's a pleasure to be here in the the Snips closet. My name's Rob. I've been coming to the Snips for about 3 years now after my friends Nikki and Ben introduced me to it. Amazing. And the first film I'd like to pick for you is from 1948, and it's called The Red Shoes. Now, this was directed and written by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. And these two guys were like the kind of crown jewel of British cinema for quite a long period until they sort of went into obscurity. I actually became aware of Michael Powell more through his last film, which was sort of quite divisive, Peeping Tom, and then I've gone deeper into the history of their filmmaking through their production company, which was called The Archers, and they've got 7 absolutely magnificent kind of masterpieces. But this is probably the crown jewel, The Red Shoes. It stars this actress. Well, she's actually a dancer, Moira Shearer. She wasn't really up for being in a film, and they had to convince her for about a year because she sort of thought of film as inferior to her preferred medium, which was dance and the theatre. But anyway, it's a magnificent film, and it's about the fight of a creative between their art and love. So she basically falls in love with the 2 main male characters. One of them is the impresario of the ballet company, and the other is the pianist in the band. And so there's this whole conflict all the time between art versus love, and what art does to you. It sort of gives to you, it creates glory in your life, but it also destroys you. And so that's the film, 1948, The Red Shoes. And the centerpiece of the film is a 15-minute dance sequence without any dialogue, which is extremely experimental, surreal from the dancer's point of view. And the Red Shoes basically become possessed, and that's kind of central in the film. And it was absolutely groundbreaking for the time, and the production and the craftsmanship is just extraordinary. So that's my first one, The Red Shoes, 1948. So for number 2, I am going to delve into the Criterion section of Dave's wonderful shop here at Snips. And this one is from 1985, and it is Martin Scorsese's After Hours. I'm going to have a bit of a hot take here on Scorsese and say I really love his 80s films. I love the gangster stuff, but I've kind of OD'd on gangsters. So, 70s, 90s, whatever, it's all great. But these comedy sort of films, King of Comedy, and then Colour of Money, and then After Hours. And this was a lesser known film, and probably still is in his catalogue, but it is supremely amazing film set in New York, in Soho. It's about a guy that leaves his place of work, which is a very mundane office job, and then things all start to go wrong. It's like a fever dream, like an anxiety dream. He sets off in a taxi. He loses the $20 that he has for the night out, which blows out of the window of the cab, and then chaos ensues, and he just can't get home. The whole concept of the film is that he just can't get home, and it's got that lovely mid-80s, but that 70s vibe too, of New York, nighttime with sort of rain and neon, and a catalogue of crazy, funny, sort of tragic things, and it's got some great cameo appearances. There's bizarrely, the parents from Home Alone, Catherine O'Hara and John Hurd, are both in this. And after the whole one crazy night thing, and having had one crazy night in New York, not quite as crazy as Griffin Dunn's in this film, but it really resonates with me. It's that kind of New York before the gentrification, loft apartments, bohemians, diners, late night life. After Hours, choice number 2. So pick number 3 is Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation from 1975. And it's a well-known film, but it's not his most famous film. Similarly to Scorsese, famous for, obviously, The Godfather. But the thing is, what I love about Dave's shop here, as you can see, he's got this director's section. So when I've been in before, you sort of go through a director's work, and you sort of become more familiar with other things you might not know so well. So The Conversation, and I picked this because it's a West Coast film. It's set in San Francisco. Obviously, After Hours was set in New York. And this is the 50th anniversary of this film, 1975, and also the main actor in the film is Gene Hackman, who died this year. So I thought it was fitting to choose something a little bit different. And this is all about, he's basically an eavesdropper. He works in surveillance, and it opens with this sort of very long shot of a square, Union Square, and a couple, and he's overhearing the conversation. So the whole thing is this kind of, in essence, he doesn't really care about people or whatever. He's just doing a job. But it becomes quickly apparent that something's wrong, and he takes an interest in this story and follows it along, and it sort of ends up becoming quite a thriller. This is like a neo-noir thriller vibe, and it ends up with him becoming more and more paranoid and deciding whether to, through some kind of moral choice, whether he should become involved. And later in the film leads to a massive twist, which is the sort of bombshell of the film. But it's interesting now. It's the whole idea of technology and being watched, and our sort of involvement in like the use of phones and all this kind of thing. And it's kind of the beginning of that. So, and it sits nicely between Antonioni's Blow Up, another sort of similar thing, and then Brian De Palma's Blowout in the 80s, also about someone listening. So there's a sort of nice trilogy of that kind of style. So The Conversation, 1975. Hello again, it is I. And the fourth choice is Mulholland Drive from 2001 by not just probably my favourite filmmaker, but just one of my favourite people, one of my favourite creatives. He's sort of highly inspirational for me as a musician. Like just the idea of the way he creates, like ideas come to you. These ideas come to you. You let them come, and then more ideas come. This is David Lynch. This is the kind of the vibe that I love, and I love all his films. I love they're all like got something amazing about them. But Mulholland Drive, probably the peak of my enjoyment in watching his cinema, as well as obviously Twin Peaks. And it's all about Hollywood. It's about the Hollywood, sort of how Hollywood is, what we think Hollywood is compared to what it actually is. And it's got this whole thing with identity and duality. Both the lead actresses played two characters, and it sort of starts off with a dream. The first half of the film's almost like a dream of what Hollywood would be, but it quickly unravels into something much darker. I think he wants you to be a detective and like figure it out for yourself. He's never really explained himself. But my take on it is that it's like taking the quick route to Hollywood, the top of Hollywood. Basically, actresses having to do things to climb the ladder in Hollywood, quite it's like dark, you know, and what that's actually like. Yeah, but he leaves you to decide. David Lynch. Amazing film, and it's got lots of stuff to do with Sunset Boulevard, and there's lots of Easter eggs. So I just thought of this as the start of cinema, Hollywood, and obviously went on to influence the neo sort of filmmakers, the whole of the beginning of Hollywood. So I wanted to sort of round it off with that one, which is one of my favourite films, Mulholland Drive. And so for my last pick, I've gone slightly different, and it's just my favourite film. So this is Withnail and I from 1987, British film. It was made by a company called Handmade Films that were put together by George Harrison from the Beatles to finance kind of cool projects. And they started off with Monty Python, and it led to like a series of films that they probably wouldn't even got made if they hadn't have helped them to, give them the money to do that. So. I mean, I could talk for hours about Withnail and I, and I could probably watch it every week. This restoration is absolutely amazing as well. So, follows two out-of-work actors, kind of alcoholics. It's hilarious. It's kind of sad. It's got an amazing, not a cameo, it's got an amazing performance by Richard Griffiths as Uncle Monty. And these two out-of-work actors go to Penrith on holiday, and it's just hilarious. Every line is a winner. Like, it's just the most quotable film you'll probably ever watch. But it's quite touching, and it's sort of, there's a sadness there underneath. But yeah, some of the sequences are just absolutely hysterically funny. So that'll be my last choice, my favourite film, which I first came across at university. and it became like it's a classic student film. So may I please recommend to you Withnail and I.